So similarly to a few things we've talked about, I don't just have like this one sheet that I give to people. I kind of feel like buyer's guide is like a process in itself. So as we've talked about before, like my guide, I feel like kind of starts with, if you think of guide, it's more like guidance. So that kind of starts for me with that whole questionnaire, the consultation that I have with people. So does everybody feel good on that stuff so far before I go into once they're actually my client and then the actual deliverables that I give to them? Good. We all feel good. Okay. So this is the point where, and I'm sharing this with you. So this isn't like what it looks like. This is just, I'm putting it on a Google folder for you guys. So I can actually give you access to the Google folder. So you can get in here and just take a look at all these that way, rather than having to wait for Compass to make something and do all that. So these are pretty much all the main things I put in here. You guys have seen this before. If you followed me along with like my neighborhood guide, this was that whole buyer process that was in there. So simple, get pre-approved, find the house, make an offer, due diligence, really just kind of outlining the steps and of what they can expect as we encounter each of these steps of the home buying process. So that's what this is. I think that's incredibly helpful. As I've mentioned before, it has it all in layman's terms. So I sent this to people who are inspecting today and they already know, and it did cause them to kind of say, okay, can you introduce us to the attorney? Can you, we know this is coming up. So they're actually, like I've talked about before, in like empowering people to understand the process themselves so that they don't feel like they need to rely on me if I can't respond right away. And it's funny to kind of see when people start to say the next steps before I've ever even explained it to them, just because they're so reliant on a lot of these deliverables that I do give them. So next thing that I'll always include in there is some kind of like town guide. I just gave this as an example. It depends on the town that they're in. Take Mamaroneck, for example. It's a nice town on the water. So I'll do a little bit of like an about the education. Obviously, we can't touch too much on this, but I can definitely give them at least how many elementary schools are there, how big is the district, what can they expect out of it. Some of them have like French American schools, so it's nice to be able to highlight like those things of the education. Where to eat. I always say, like, don't put on places that you haven't probably been yourself, because what if they say, what's your favorite dish there? And you're like, I don't know. So I love Sal's Pizza and Mamaroneck. If you guys ever come, it's like the best thing ever. So like, I like putting on things like that, like get the Sicilian slice. I like to make it a little bit more informal for people. And I think it makes it a little bit more relatable to them. And then I do like this whole link of where to have some fun. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's things that I would go do to have some fun, but just kind of giving them a whole list. So I put in here, obviously on the water. So there's like a lot of those boat clubs, the beaches, tennis, parks, a lot of outdoor activities. The library, if there's like a really great farmers market that happens there, like this is the time to kind of highlight those things out of it. It should be like a really succinct kind of town guide that they would go and see online, but they can skip over all the stuff that they probably don't even want to look at. And then commute times. So this is something that's probably really important to people who are in the suburbs, kind of anywhere you are, whatever you feel like is like a main attraction. It doesn't just have to be, New York City or an airport. Those things are important, but also like, what are the other things that people oftentimes need to get to, or something that you can give them a frame of reference of how far they are from something. So I like to include this. If I'm meeting a buyer for the first time, or if like we're really early on in the process, I'll print out a few of these, or I'll just attach one depending on where we're going that day. So if I'm going to tour 2 towns, I'll include 2 towns at a time. I don't want to ever overwhelm them and give them like 12 of these, even though we cover 12 or 13 towns. I think it can be really overwhelming, but have these on deck so that as people need them, you can give them out. These are also super interchangeable. So as you create them, you can use them at open houses. I'm telling you, nobody has something done like this. They're all generic. They're all done by their brokerage, if they're even done at all. And there's sorry, there's a train coming from New York City. I could say that. So that's something that I would say, like, make sure it's personal and it's not just, I've seen them, and even Compass has made them for us before, and it's helpful to have something. But when I go in there, I'm like, okay, I would never go here. This restaurant doesn't even exist anymore. It closed during COVID. So make sure whatever you're handing out, this is kind of like across the board of what I'm going to show you, is accurate information. And it's things that you can talk about if they actually bring up on there, oh, I went to this restaurant, like I was saying before. So add some personality into this. Don't just get it done to get it done. I'd much rather have a couple of these done than have 12 done that were kind of, 50%, for lack of a better term, half-assed. So Another thing I'll include is this train schedule. You guys have also seen this. If that's important to you, great. If not, you can disregard it. I made this in Canva, super easy. The QR code goes to the app that we have to check out all the train times so they can buy their tickets, do all that. And I think visually, this is really helpful for people understanding as they move further north in our county, how much further does it really get? And then also some nuances of express trains and all of that. Trying to think what I want to go to next.
Hey, Kate, can I interrupt you one quick sec? I forgot how to get that QR code. So for example, I'm in an area on an island. I need to get the ferry schedule. That's a
Exactly.
fabulous idea. How do I get that QR code to set up?
I really like QR code generator.
Okay.
So if I were to do this, let's just say this was like the link. This isn't exactly the link. And I copied the link there. I would go into QR code generator here.
Okay.
Literally drop and paste. You don't have to pay for it. I pay for another one, but I've been like still using QR code generator. I don't know why. This is like my problem. And then I literally just, so if you're on a Mac, Shift Command 4 is the screenshot. This is probably over, you know, whatever. This is probably not what you're supposed to do on this website. They probably want you to pay for it. I just screenshot it and then I'll drop it in to wherever I'm going.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. This is the other side of the train going.
I also just put a QR code link in the chat. I use it. It's free. You can change the color, you can change the shape of it, and it's really helpful. And then you download it instead of screenshotting it. So it's that's just another thing you can do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No,
Thank
perfect.
you.
You can pay for like I said, I know for a fact I paid for one of these. I just sometimes am in such a bind. I'm like, just screenshot and drop it in. But it is helpful if you have any of those, because then you can download them as like PNG files, which doesn't have the background behind them. So it can look like, it looks much sleeker and all that, but play around with it and you learn the tricks, but not expensive, and leverage these QR codes. I think everybody, it's not like a new groundbreaking thing, but everybody really is using them. Okay. So next thing I'm going to talk about is this. Let's just take for right now, the Q1 2023 report. This is like 100-page report that Westchester creates for us, or whoever in Westchester creates for us. I would like what I use this for. I don't give them the whole 100-page report. I would rather, I mean, I'll send it to them like in like my newsletter or something, and then people can scroll through. But if I were meeting buyers for the first time, I think this is a really nice segue into the conversation of whatever they think is happening is not really happening. And I'll take out, like, just like I did with the town tours. If we're going to see 3 towns, let's do Ardsley, because that's probably going to be first. Bedford and Chappaqua, Blindbrook, whatever. Let's just take like 3 of these. I would basically just download this, pull out the PDFs that I do, pull out the sheets out of it that I want, create that into a PDF, and then download it. So I'm not giving them 100 pages, but I am giving them, we're going to see 3 towns. Here's exactly how we performed in Q1 in these towns. And it's really helpful to be able to take some of this data and talk about it. So you can see year over year how much less inventory we have. And then that's also why the prices are being driven up. They did this great write-up of here, up here. It said, like, likewise, the average sale price increased 5%. We're down due to a lack of inventory. So they did a really nice job with this write-up about actually what's happening. And I think it's something that's incredibly helpful to be able to give to your clients. If you don't like the one that Compass gives you, or if your region doesn't do one for whatever reason, consider doing a write-up just like this, reflecting on the previous quarter, or at least somewhat of a market update that you can give to them. Especially, like I said, when you're meeting people on the first time. I love like talking about the elephant in the room. Like, why are we waiting until the 3rd or 4th tour to talk about, oh, sorry, yes, no, you can't really have a lot of contingencies right now. And yes, you will have to go a couple $100,000 above ask. That's what's going to happen. Why did I just waste 3 weekends with people to learn on the 4th weekend that they're not the right buyers who are going to do that? I want to talk about this at the beginning. Let's find out from each other if this is the right market for you to be buying in. And I know this might sound harsh, but I was just talking about this with like my mom yesterday. She even had like these buyers, and we're like, listen, it's probably not going to happen. Doesn't mean I love them any less. Doesn't mean I won't help them next year. But we had to come to a conclusion that they're just not going to be successful, and nothing is going to give right now. When it does, we'll let them know. But for now, their price point is just not going to cut it for what their expectations are. So talk about this in the beginning. And I think this is a great way to open up that conversation in a really open way. You don't need to like talk out at people. I just think that for some reason I see this like in my market a lot. Like I'll even be overhearing conversations like this past weekend, and people like, I can hear them trying to explain the market to their client. And I'm like, first of all, you should probably sign up for Chirag Shah Coaching, but that's besides the point. But you can tell that they're so apprehensive in their delivery. How is the client gonna believe that? I'm uncomfortable too. I don't like having to tell people this, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve the right to know. A lot of people find that their clients don't understand. I just don't think that they ever explained it correctly, because I have great clients, some who are super educated and actually are in this business in the city right now, and some who have no idea what's going on, have never even heard of half the terms I'm talking about. And both are able to understand at the exact same level because of how I'm explaining and how I'm delivering the information. So like I said, great segue into that. Highly recommend including something like that in it. Let's see the next one. We'll go through this. So if any of you guys follow me on Instagram from like last year, I had talked about this winning buyer toolbox. I never thought I would need this again. And here we are in 2023, a year later, needing this more than ever. So we're back to talking about what waiving certain contingencies mean to the buyer and certain tactics that we can be using in their offer to make sure that they are successful. I just won a bidding war 2 days ago, 140 showings in less than 72 hours, over 15 offers, and we came out on top. Not very easily, and we didn't have the highest offer and we didn't waive the most. That was a miracle, and I don't know what form of magic I did for that, but I think it was called an escalation clause. So think about whatever people are doing in your market. This is pretty much everything that we have to work with in ours, but consider creating something like this. I love like the use of, and honestly, somebody on this call who'd be great for this is like Danielle. I feel like you could jazz this up and make it look phenomenal using emojis, using something that just kind of takes so many words on a screen down to something that's digestible. So I talk about the waiving of the inspection contingency, which is pretty much what everybody's doing right now. Waiving of the appraisal, waiving of the mortgage commitment contingency, utilizing an escalation, increasing your down payment, what it means. Also, another great segue into the conversation of somebody who maybe only has 3 to 5 to 10% down, being able to let them know and set that expectation. It's not going to be that easy. There's a lot of cash out here. And again, I'm talking about like what's happening in my market specifically, but you use those opportunities to really educate them about it. Maybe they have another opportunity. Maybe there's something else that they can do to be able to increase that. But if you never talk about it, they're never going to know. So I think this is a great thing to, again, be using, and it's very easy for them to be understanding on here. So you'll get a copy of this if you didn't have it from last year. And let's think where I want to go next with it. We can talk about this. These are just like some key terms. I think it's helpful for them to have it in there. Appraisal, assessed value, closing cost, contingency, what actually is a contingency, down payment, like I've mentioned, DTI, what like a title search means, especially in different markets. I think like if there's nuances, if you find yourself being asked the same question over and over again, make that a key term or make that an FAQ. A lot of this stuff has just rooted from, I don't want to keep explaining this to people all the time, so let me put it on a sheet. These key terms could be 4 pages long if you want, if you have a ton of that. These are just the main ones that kind of came to mind for me. So this is what I give. And all of this is very fluid. Like you guys know, my documents change all the time. That's why I keep these either in Canva or in Compass so that I can always be going in and editing them really easily. So yeah, so key terms, I think that's something I would put in there for sure. And then closing costs. That's all that's left. So this also is in my neighborhood guide. This is the way that I have just found it's the easiest for me to be able to explain them to people in a way that they can kind of have calculations to do it themselves. So this is the first part of it. And it basically just outlines all the different parts, like the line items essentially that they should be expecting. And then here I give them an example. And again, what's great about having this in Canva, if I know what their price range is going to be and I know what area they're going to be in, I might change this to 1.4 or 1.5, but in a different area, right in like my market, the taxes could either be 16, like I'm saying on here at one of my listings, or they could be 44. So I might want to also consider changing that in there so that they know what to expect, since we do have those 6-month tax escrows here as a part of the closing cost. So think about, all those types of things. I really try and think about how things are going to be interpreted. Deliverables are great, but you don't want to also make this too confusing for them, like you don't want to give them so much information that they end up coming out of it having more questions when you were actually trying to solve for the questions they were already asking you. So just think about making it simple. Try not to smush like a ton of text on a page. Try to organize it well. Canva has great templates. Our marketing advisors can help out with this. So just consider, some of those facts of like, if you didn't know a lot of this stuff and we weren't in it, like remove yourself and then go back and try and read it. I give this stuff to Matt all the time, my fiance, if you guys don't know him. And I always say like, does this make sense to you? And he's able to give me really great feedback. So think about giving it to somebody like that too. So many trains happening now. Okay, I think that's it. And this is good because I wanted to make leave 10 minutes for questions. So unmute yourselves. Any questions you have, if you need me to show you anything on Canva, on Marketing Center, open it up to the group.
So Kate, you said that you were going to share this folder with us, correct?
Yes. Yep. I'm going to put it in a Google Drive and then give it to you guys. Neighborhood guide you already have. So if you downloaded Canva, you have that as a link to make a copy on Canva and then utilize that template. So you'll see a town guide in there that you can edit. You'll see the home buying process that you can edit. The closing cost example you can edit. So if you like the way that those templates are, you can just go in there and edit them right in the neighborhood guide and then just pull out the pages that you need.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
and then another question that's kind of off topic is, have you
Yep.
ever had a buyer seminar where you kind of talk about the home buying process?
It's a really good idea. It's something I should do. Yeah, I think I'd be really good at that. I think I should probably be doing that. Yes.
I was told to do it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring it up.
Bring it up. No, it's a lot of planning. And I'm always super honest with you guys. There's only enough hours in the day, and like, if I get to it, great. I will eventually. I never say never to anything. Yeah, I'll do it. Sure.
Hi, Kate, I have a question.
Yeah.
I get how you would compile this, to tailor it to your particular buyer. If you're sharing it in print form, if you're sharing it electronically, do you put it together or do you just send the relevant, like you've got it displayed now with the individual component parts?
Yeah, I'll share exactly like a way that I have shared this. It's basically just, where can I get in here to my shared drive? Let me take like one of my actual clients, for example. I should probably just give like a forewarning to all of like my buyers, like, hey, by the way, there's this group every Thursday that knows every single thing about you guys because I share your file. Okay, let me take them for instance here. So like here in like the buyer's guide, like I'm giving them like selective information. I just uploaded it as one. I would show you another part of this that I wanted to, but I'll disclose like we're not in contract yet. But I kind of like to like drip it in there. So as we kind of talk about it, I'll drip it in. And I know that about these buyers, they are extraordinarily analytical. If I gave them everything at once, they would be like, oh my God, I'm going to have a field day and ask Kate questions until 4 a.m. because that's when he works until, which is great. And I'd probably still answer, which is the problem. But so like drip it in as people start to talk about it. So like right now we're about to inspect. So I put in, all of this right after this. If like, well, I mean, first I also only had to show them one house and we got the house, like it's very lucky. But if I did this with somebody else, as we went to view a town, like, let me see if I have Kushals in here. Let me go. Okay, so this is a good example. So resources, let me see what I had in here. Okay, so do you see like how I had my old buyer's guide before I updated it, the closing costs and then the winning buyer toolbox. So like as we went to make our first offer, I uploaded the winning buyer toolbox. As I got started with them, I uploaded the buyer's guide. And then as we went to view like different towns, I created a town like thing for them. So like as we went to see Chappaqua, they have their town profile in there. We had a tour of like the houses that we went to see there, so they can always remember. They were getting like very acclimated to the community at this point. And then I put in, let's see what this was. Where was Kate's brain at? Okay, so I sent them things that had sold 4 months prior to get them used to how much things were trading for in the area. So that's like a good example, maybe more so than like the other one, but like it depends on where people are at, and then I'll like slowly start to insert it. I'm a huge fan of having a million folders. I don't know if that's just me and my OCD, but like I want to see, like, even if we go back to here, so like clients, active buyers or active sellers, active client, active buyers. And then I go in, they're all labeled by this. Like you'll see right in here, I'm just going to share this. You guys can't probably see anything in here. So like now I'm going into the property that they're buying. Then we go in, we have building file, inspection report, listing sheet, verified property taxes, upgrades and improvements, offer to purchase. Then I go into the building file. I have every single CO organized by land survey, property card, closed electrical permit. So it takes a little bit of time, but to me, like that just makes so much sense. So that's like how I like to think about this. So I would do the same thing. And sorry, I know this is turning into more of like a Google folder call, but I think it's important. So if you give it to them in person, they have the folder and it's all good then, but then I'm always like, where does my folder go? And then they lose it, whatever. So I like uploading it in here and then having it labeled as such. So similarly to how I'm putting it in the folder to show you guys, I think that's helpful to say closing cost, train schedule. Otherwise they are kind of scrolling through like this big long document. So, and I think it's like, again, just like I've talked about, like my Compass collections, I want my experience, anything that I can control out of it, to be very organized, very simple, very clean, nothing extra in the folder that they don't need to look at. Sometimes I'll go in and people just add in a bunch of stuff, like I was saying, kind of like before, I'm like, none of this is even pertinent to like the purchase that they're going to be making. Like, why are we putting this in here? So I really like to just say, okay, if I am going to have you read something, it's worth it, read it, and then let's talk about it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Kate,
Yeah.
do you migrate this into Business Tracker?
Yeah, it's all kind of syncs in because I have my Google account loaded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, like, I don't know if a lot of it would really make, much sense to it, because like, I don't know if it needs a buyer's guide, but it's helpful when like we get into compliance.
right. I do this a similar thing, but I do it on my Dropbox.
Yeah,
But this is a lot easier, actually.
I've used both. I just feel like and it might just be because it's like an Apple user versus an HP. Like I've grown up on Apple and then I grew up on Google. So like I like it. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I find like it's pretty clean. And I always feel like somebody probably has a Google account or has probably used something in Google, rather than some people have maybe not used Dropbox before. That was what I encountered.
Great point. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions I can answer?
I had written in chat the Canva link. I've not done Canva by myself. I've had marketing people help me with it. Do you have a specific path you want us to take? Is there a Canva account that's through Chirag or through you? No.
There's no Canva account, but what I've done with some of them out of like my personal account is I've made them editable. Essentially, I've made them like a template. So you can go in and change it, just like if you were to go into Marketing Center. I don't have the link myself right now, but if you go back into like any of my past calls when I was talking about creating a neighborhood guide, it should be linked right in there. And then when you click on the link, it'll prompt you to make a copy or whatever it asks you to do, so that you're not editing over somebody else's.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that Westchester report came from our marketing group up there?
Yes, it did. Yeah. I don't know if it's like our managers who work with them, but yeah, they pull that data. They're really good with that. So I'll give them a lot of credit. I think if I had to create that, it would take me a lot of time. So,
Gosh,
but I think a lot of them do it.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? You guys feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Is this helpful? Is that like what you were expecting from like a buyer's guide? Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure, because I do it like differently than a lot of people. I'm sure people are like, here's a 2-page thing. I just think people need a little bit more information when they're buying a house. Sometimes it's helpful. Let's see. Okay, good. Well, if you guys feel good on it, then you have everything. What do I need to send out of this? There's a few things in there. I'll make sure those are uploaded in like a PDF form. Or I can just give you the link to get into the Google folder. I'll ask
Yeah.
CSC to see what's easiest, and that's it. We'll be good to go. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. As always, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. This was
Bye. Good. I'm so glad. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.